Way back in 1977, a show hit the airwaves that would be the catalyst for something that was a little left of center. Well, the show, Yatterman, would be the template for most of the Tatsunoko properties that came out during the 70s and 80s. What had a more enduring legacy was one of the characters, and strangely enough, it was the villain. Doronjo, a pipe-smoking blonde woman with bat ears on her head and a penchant for getting her clothing blown off, was the leader of the Doronbo, a team of no-good-nicks whose exploits range from stealing monuments to confidence schemes. Most of the time, her plans fail because of the intervention of the Yattermen, two youths with a big dopey dog robot and a mean right hook. However, what made her stand out was the fact that in spite of her designated villain status, she wasn't evil, she was just greedy and more than a little bit stupid. Considering a lot of villains in this time period, especially in the robot genre, in which Yatterman and its like kind of falls into, were otherworldly monsters bent on universal domination and all, she was something of an outlier. Additionally, she was a primary villain who was female, something new for the time, and for what was essentially a boys' show. What gave her the momentum to carry on after her initial appearance was a simple and elegant design and an unprecedented amount of character development for the time. No one really expected that a character who was essentially throwaway for the genre would have this kind of consideration. While she carried the vain villainous torch hard enough to get lit on fire by it, there was more beneath the surface. While I'm sure this doesn't sound like very much at all to a modern viewer, all Doronjo really wants is to escape this life of crime and become a housewife, which was kind of novel at the time, even if it's reinforcing some weird gender roles. Again, considering her contemporaries were evil lizard men and monsters from space, this was a radical departure. But alas, due to the sunk cost fallacy, in which she's spent too much time being a heel to turn good, she feels like she's stuck in her role. Granted, this whole series is pretty goofy, so you can only take it so seriously, but at the same time, the character, along with her team, continues to be exceptionally popular. And when your villains are getting top billing over your heroes, you have to think that you did some good there. As the series progressed, the showrunners did take note of how popular the villains had gotten, and made a point to show her getting a crush on Yatterman 1, just to keep things fresh. But unfortunately, things came to an end, and Yatterman was replaced by Zenderman 2 years later. And fascinatingly enough, the Doronbo team appeared there yet again. Yes, their appearance was different, but their voice actors and their role in the series remained the same. And then suddenly, it was all over the place. This character style would show up again and again in kid-oriented anime, sometimes with the genders futzed with, but very much the same. For example, Petrofina from Flint the Time Detective, and most notably, Team Rocket. But wait, before we get to the end, Doronjo wasn't the progenitor of this character style. That goes to Majo from Time Bokan, which came a year earlier. Also voiced by Noriko Ohara, she was Doronjo without the softer, more likable side to her, which sadly leaves poor Majo in the dirt while her replacement gets all the love. So why does no one know about her? In spite of the Takeshi Miike directed movie getting a release in the USA, the series never came over in any way, shape, or form. The 2008 reboot/continuation was passed over as well, and as a whole, the sort of show that Yatterman was just doesn't make good sales in the States. Italians love Yatterman, though, and it continues to have a presence there and in the rest of Europe to this day. Yoru no Yatterman, which is a continuation of Doronjo's character, also made it stateside, but without the background of the original series, it just doesn't have a lot to stand on. So while only people who have an eye for it know about her, the character is a genre staple and a good example of just how far a little effort can take a character. So here's to you, Doronjo, you and your destructible clothing.